What is up, everybody? Here we are, an MLB DFS strategy show, and this one is Yahoo specific. This is going to be something we're doing regularly every Friday moving forward. Fridays are going to be Yahoo days. We have an article on the homepage free for everyone right now. If you head to awesemo.com, you'll see an MLB DFS Yahoo strategy show or strategy article written by the man, your old pal Emac, taking a look at today's slate. But today is the jump off. We are brought to you by Yahoo. Yahoo is the sponsor of this show, and they will be the sponsor of this Friday show moving forward. I am going to take a look through everything that Yahoo offers from a baseball standpoint. We'll touch on roster construction and their scoring system, how they're sort of set up, and then we'll take a look at all of the games and see who's jumping up to the top of my projections, see who's looking like a priority for today. Yahoo's a little bit different. In the Scape, it's a 10 max site, so you're not competing with people going and playing 150 lineups. It's 10 max. There is no scripting. All of the players are very clearly labeled, so you know if you're getting into contests with guys that have been playing for a really long time. They have a quick match feature, so you can play a quick match contest at a bunch of different salary tiers, and it will match you to people with your similar experience. You really can't beat it. It's an excellent site. They've been running a lot of contests with low rake or no rake. We will touch on some of that towards the end. But the 10 max feature is a really, really interesting piece. I've been playing at Yahoo since they started running their reduced rake contests, and this is not going to slow me down whatsoever. I'm excited to play their baseball product. But let's dive in on sort of the holistic stuff. If we look here at the scoring system and at the positions, you're going to see that it's very similar to DraftKings. It's a two-pitcher site. You're playing, there's no utility spots. It's catcher, first, second, third, short, 3 outfields. Scoring system for hitters, pretty common. You're constantly getting double the amount for any hit based on the previous spot. So a single is worth 2.6. You're doubling that for a double. You're adding that on again for a triple, and then home runs are 10.4. Runs and RBIs weighted a little bit less. Stolen bases, a little bit more than walks. Walks and hit by pitch, the same. On the pitching side, you're getting 4 points for a win. 2 points for a strikeout. You lose 2 for an earned run. You gain 1 point for every out, which is essentially the same as 3 points per inning. You lose just under a point for walks, hits, and hit by a pitch. I really like the two pitcher environment, so I'm pretty excited about that. Roster construction is even more crazy. You have to have guys from 3 separate teams. That's relatively common in MLB DFS. But you can have 6 players from the same team. You can stack up 6 full players from one team if you would like. I assume that I will be more in the form of 5 hitters and then potentially a pitcher. I have not done as much research as I would have liked into whether that 6th player is better than going one-off. There is, on a shorter slate, probably. There's certainly correlation to high run scoring environments. I don't know if that trickles all the way down to 6, but I have run my original crunches with 5-man primary stacks. If we want to touch on anything else here, they have tons of different slates. They almost always run all-day slates. They've got a 12-game all-day slate today. They've got an 11-game slate that starts at 4 o'clock, and then their main slate, 8 games, just like everything else. Yahoo is definitely going to be more newbie players if we're touching on questions from chat. And I'm not really sure who is piloting our YouTube chat right now, but yeah, some of the edge is gone due to the lack of volume options. By playing a 10 max, really concentrates the field quite a bit, brings a lot more skill into the game. And yeah, hit that like button for me. That would be fantastic. I would greatly appreciate it. You'll see in the scroll below the video, if you sign up, if you have not signed up yet for Yahoo Fantasy, go to sports.yahoo.com/dailyfantasy, and you can use the promo code AWESOMO. You know what you get with that promo code from Awesomeo? It's scrolling on the screen right now. If you see it, if you're just audio, then you're not seeing what I'm saying. But if you use that promo code from going to the link, you get $30 of free play money. It comes in as Yahoo points, and you have the ability to use that immediately. So check that stuff out. Sir Dave, I know most of us don't play Yahoo. Yeah, that's the point. You're supposed to now. You should be. I do. Why wouldn't you? You can get contests like their Masters coverage coming up next Thursday. They're running contests for the Masters, and they are fantastic. They have a 100K guaranteed $20 buy-in. It's a 10 max tournament. Top 20% gets paid out. It's a really nice payout structure, 20, 10, 5. Perfect scale. And it's a 10 max. There's only 5,600 people in it. It's just a fantastic tournament. It would be one of the... If I were playing 10 golf lineups next week, I would be playing all of them on Yahoo first. Not only are they offering an outstanding 500 or 100K guaranteed 20K to first, their $5 buy-in tournament has no rake whatsoever. Zilch, nada. Zero management fee. $5, 10 max, 2K to first, and there's not a single cent of rake. You really cannot beat that. So we touched on the roster constructions and the scoring system right out of the gate for baseball, but let's take a look at the actual games. Let's break this down and see where we stand. I ran 200 crunches before we started. I have all of my projections locked and loaded and ready to go. So I'm just going to take a lap through this 8-game main slate. Do they allow uploads for multiple entry? No, they do not have CSV imports. Yeah, don't worry. We're talking about the whole slate. There's no worries. We're talking about it all. In the first game up, Phillies and Twins. Phillies have a 4.3 run implied total. Twins 3.6. It's a 58% chance to win for the Phillies. Nick Pivetta is on the hill for Philadelphia. Jake Odorizzi going for Minnesota. And the first thing you'll have to notice about Yahoo, and you can see it in the salary column, which is column AE on my screen. It's not the normal salaries in multiples of 1,000. You have a $200 salary cap for Yahoo slates. Feels a bit different. Takes some getting used to. I prefer it, if I'm being honest. So you have to get used to the calibration of salaries. Now, we'll take a look at my original crunch because Yahoo has the Phillies and Twins priced in an interesting way. My top stacks. Minnesota Twins coming in fourth. I do have the Phillies in the middle of the pack in terms of my stacks, but as for two-man stacks, get to it a lot thanks to a young man named Bryce Harper. But I do like the Twins quite a bit as well. They are just really, really cheap. So if I'm looking at the Phillies, we'll start with a pitching piece. Pivetta and Odorizzi. Nick Pivetta is $31 on Yahoo. Jake Odorizzi is $33. Oh, there you go. Special thanks to whoever's manning the YouTube chat right now. The link for signing up, the sports.yahoo.com/dailyfantasy link is there. Promo code again, Awesomeo. You get $30 in free play if you sign up using that code. As for Pivetta and Odorizzi, I greatly prefer Nick Pivetta to Odorizzi as a pitcher. It really surprises me that he's slightly cheaper. I assume that Pivetta goes longer. Yeah, so X Cossack is mentioning it. There's one key piece to point out here. Weather not looking great in the Northeast. There is going to be some trouble on the horizon for this particular game. It's something that you'll want to pay attention to as you move on towards lock. But for right now, I'm just going to go over it, just to go over every game in full. Pivetta has way better strikeout stuff than Odorizzi, 9.5 Ks per 9 from Steamer compared to Odorizzi at 8.1. And then he's got a projected FIP like a full run below him. So Pivetta is, in my opinion, a much easier option to get to than Jake Odorizzi. Pivetta is my third most exposed pitcher in my original crunch. Now, I am running 200 lineups. I would sift through those to get my best 10, but Pivetta is the guy that I would be paying attention to. I essentially would not get to any Jake Odorizzi. As for the bats in this game, Bryce Harper stands out to me as the clear best option. He is $27. I have him projected for 10.7 Yahoo points. It's the best projection in this game by far. I do like stacking up the Phillies. I think Harper and Rhys Hoskins look great as a combo. Hoskins is $5 cheaper than Harper. I have them really similar in terms of ceilings if you compare to their price tags. And then third for me for the Phillies would be Andrew McCutchen, $2,100 in the leadoff spot. Those extra plate appearances are really beneficial. They would be the trio that I would be looking at most from the Philly side. From the Twins side, though, I am interested a little bit. CJ Cron is only $13 on Yahoo. That is a really, really cheap price tag for a guy that's hitting in the third spot. Should be out there for all 9 innings. Excellent chance to see that extra plate appearance. I have him in for 4.5 plate appearances today. Cron is just a slight hair behind Harper and Hoskins, but I would like him quite a bit as a one-off option if you need to. He's really cheap, easy to fit in. After that, the rest of the Twins lineup looks pretty average. Everybody looks relatively similar. If we take a look back at my crunch and some of the exposures and the way that I would get to these teams, let's filter down to Minnesota here. You see, no one is really breaking through. It's super, super balanced. There's no real way for me to want to prioritize these guys. They're honestly a little too cheap, in my opinion, so they make for really good filler. But it's really hard to see any separation. Jorge Polanco, in particular, not grading out all that well for me in the 2-hole. I think the most likely stack for me would be like a Kepler, CJ Cron, Eddie Rosario, Marwin Gonzalez, Jonathan Scope stack. That's where I would be at right now. But Bryce Harper, Rhys Hoskins, CJ Cron, those are the 3 best bats in this game. Keep a close eye on the weather. Things are not looking good. If we look at it right now, I wouldn't be surprised if they just postpone this immediately. It looks like it's going to be pouring from at least 5. As far as I know, it's raining right now. It should be raining from 5 p.m. straight through till 11 p.m. I assume that we don't see this one. So all of my hot Bryce Harper and Rhys Hoskins, CJ Cron takes, not exactly going to be super fantastic. Let's move on to the Pirates game. The Pirates are taking on the Reds. It's a 3.9 run implied total for the Pirates, 3.6 for the Reds. Joe Musgrove is on the hill for Pittsburgh. Sonny Gray going for Cincinnati. Musgrove, $34 on Yahoo. Sonny Gray, $29. Neither guy grading out with any sort of major ceiling. If we take a look back at my exposures, let me just scroll down here. From a pitching perspective, Joe Musgrove only showed up in 2 lineups. not so awesome. Sonny Gray, only an 11. Very, very minimal here. While the implied total is outstanding, it's, under 4. It's always appealing, but there's not a lot of swing and miss stuff here. Musgrove doesn't really miss a ton of bats. He's a much better regular pitcher than he is a DFS pitcher. And both the Reds and Pirates lineups just do not have a lot of swing and miss in it. So it's really hard to get to a lot of pitching in this game. They just don't have enough strikeouts. If we take a look at the weather, do we have any weather for Pittsburgh, Cincinnati? Yeah, it'll be a little damp as we go. They should be fine. It's going to be a little wet, but nothing too crazy. If we're talking about bats, when I hop back to the crunches, you'll look in the stack section. Cincinnati is somewhere around my 10th best stack. Pittsburgh is, 12? Not great. Not a lot to look at from a hitting perspective. Salaries are low. You'll see Jose Iglesias, Tucker Barnhart, Scott Schebler, JB Shuck, Melky Cabrera, all under $10. The only guy that grades out well for me at all is Scott Schebler. Schebler only $8 on Yahoo. He grades out pretty well as a value option for an outfielder. That would really be the only direction that I would want to point people to. Yasiel Puig has power, and he probably has the highest upside of any bat in this game, but I don't love him for that price. I would much rather have Schebler for $8 than Puig for $17. Just don't see it as a spot that I want to focus on. I don't really love the idea of going to these bats. They are mostly off the board for me. Seems like a perfect time to see if you guys can hit that like button for me. It's very helpful for us. We want to bring you as much of this sort of content as we can. So if you can hit that like button, I would really, really appreciate it. Moving on from Pirates and Reds, we'll head to Arizona. Diamondbacks hosting the Boston Red Sox. 4.2 run implied total for the D-backs. 4.4 for the Red Sox. It's a 53% chance to win. For Boston, Zach Godley is going for Arizona. Rick Porcello going for the Red Sox. Josh, it says Schebler not in the starting lineup. Oh, the Reds lineup come out? Let me take a look. Ooh, we do have the Reds lineup. Reds and Pirates are the only lineups we have so far. Yeah, no Schebler, so ignore me. Didn't know that we had the Reds lineup quite yet. Well, it makes that game even easier because that was the only piece I liked, so you can safely ignore that game now. Should make it a lot easier. Godley and Porcello, though. Godley at $28, Porcello at $43. God, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of shekels. I only got 7% of Porcello. I only got 2% of Godley. I'd love to be on this game a little bit more, but it's really hard for me to prioritize Godley against the Red Sox. They do not strike out a ton, or at least not this projected lineup. And I just don't have them going deep enough into this game. As for the other side, not a lot of swing and miss outside of Alex Avila and Christian Walker, but he's going to have a hard time paying off a $43 price tag. He is not anywhere near super playable in my eyes. Since this is a 10 max tournament that I will be in, there's basically no way that I would have him. Bats. If we're trying to touch on bats in this game, we have Boston just slightly under average in terms of my full exposure. They will climb a little bit more as just general two-man stacks. They're really easy to get to because of, obviously, their talent level. Diamondbacks as well, my least exposed stack. This is just not the game for me. But we do have some one-off bats that we need to talk about. On the Arizona side, I think Eduardo Escobar is really interesting. He's not a great hitter. Projects as a 94 weighted runs created plus from Steamer. It's not good, but he's projected to hit second. He has third base and shortstop eligibility. I think that he is probably the best value on Yahoo from the Diamondbacks at just $13. Otherwise, if you need a catcher option, Alex Avila is only $9. He is probably the second best value for me on Yahoo, and I just don't really see myself getting to much else. On the Boston side, I think Mitch Moreland, if he is in the lineup as a $12 first baseman, lefty, righty in Arizona, I think that profiles very, very well. So Moreland would be a guy that I would be looking to from a budget perspective. Also, Andrew Benintendi is probably the best dollar for dollar play on Boston. He is $16, projected to hit second. Again, lefty, righty. It's a really, really nice spot. I have no issues going to Mookie Betts, Javier Devers, JD Martinez, Brock Holt. Brock Holt having first and second base eligibility. I don't mind getting to the Red Sox. It's really not, it's way more of a 2/3 man stack than it would be the full 5 man. Because I think Godley's a good pitcher. He projects with a 4.21 FIP out of Steamer. That's above average. I just can't focus on the Sox as much as I would like to. The 4.4 on implied total is nice, but not a direction I'm going to be going. We will get to a lot more quality information in the near future for the rest of this slate. Tons of excellent bats to be found. We'll head to Cleveland. Yeah, Brandon Furlow. That's a great point. There are no elite pitchers today. That is a very, very true statement. If anybody has any Yahoo specific questions, feel free to drop them in here, whether that's in our premium Slack channel or in the YouTube chat. Happen to hit you guys up with whatever you are interested in. Ooh, let's talk Cleveland Indians hosting the Toronto Blue Jays. It's a 3.8 run implied total for the Indians, 3.2 for the Jays, a 58% chance to win for the Indians. Justin's brother Shane on the hill for Cleveland. Trent Thornton going for Toronto. The Biebs is $35. Trent Thornton is $36. We hop back over to my exposures. Lots and lots of the Biebs. Decent amount of Thornton. Don't really mind it either. I'm oddly high on Shane Bieber a lot. He is $35 on Yahoo today. That grades out as a solid play on a slate where there's really not a ton to like. And more importantly, with a super low implied total for the Blue Jays, I have a lot of interest in Bieber being able to eat out like 6 innings or more. And then I think Thornton is worth at least a look. Both of these guys project with sub 4 FIPS. They both have roughly 8K per 9 strikeout rates, very similar walk rates. These guys are very comparable pitchers. The only difference is Bieber has a much better chance of picking up a win, given he's on the Indians and Thornton is on the Blue Jays. Yeah, Sex Cossack. Thornton is $1 more expensive than the Biebs. So I am getting to Bieber as a bit of a priority. I think he's a really nice option on a slate that is sort of devoid of real pitching. Now, from a bat perspective, I have the Indians coming in as my number 5 stack. Nope, that's 6. Number 6 stack. Blue Jays. Thank God. Coming down a little bit below average. I'm a little over rostering the Blue Jays at this point. I'm sure I'm not the only one. But there are some bats to like here. Leonis Martin is hitting or projected to hit leadoff here. It's not an appealing offensive game, but he is only $8 hitting leadoff. you have a really large opportunity to provide value at such a low salary when you're hitting leadoff, and you have more opportunities for additional plate appearances than any other person in the game. So Leonys Martin is going to be a fantastic play if you need value. Jake Bauers projected to hit third, first base and outfield eligibility, $9 on Yahoo, another fantastic value option. And then if you need a third value option, Brad Miller projected to hit sixth, a $7 second baseman. Those three guys in particular are going to provide just way too much volume over some other bats on the slate. I really like getting to those three guys if you need to pay down. Yeah, well, I mean, like, I'm only off the Blue Jays train because this is just a bad matchup, but I still, a lot of it had to do with their pricing. They were just super underpriced. So that's how you end up with them. Mark Nelms, no multi-eligibility on Yahoo. So there are no utility spots, but hitters do have multiple eligibilities. You'll see. That'll be a good example. Give me 1 second. Let's get some of this refreshed here. Yeah, you are right. I have this loaded in here incorrectly. Daily and position and Yahoo. All right, moving on to the Blue Jays side of this. Oh, God, these Blue Jays. How many people in YouTube chat right now took a beating from the Blue Jays over the first week? Raise your digital hands. Anybody? I'll raise mine. You guys all know it. Blue Jays gave me the old beating of all beatings. The only time they were good were days where they were on slates that I wasn't playing. Gotta love that. God, it's brutal. So brutal. Now, if you want to go to the Jays, I can't really advocate for it too hard. 3.2 run implied total, dead last on the slate. They are kind of cheap to get to. I mean, Billy McKinney, I think, is like a really elite option at only $7 today, projected to hit in the 2-hole. If he is in the top of this lineup, Billy McKinney is a guy that you want in a lineup one way or the other. And there we go. All the hands are coming in now. Jonathan, Brandon. There you go. Highly recommend Billy McKinney in this Jays lineup. I really can't recommend too much else. I think Brandon Drury and Justin Smoke are fine, but it's really hard for me to want to go to a lot of the Jays. Now, Shane Bieber, if you expect Shane Bieber to be relatively highly owned, I don't mind using them as some sort of hedge stack, but there's a lot of swing and miss here, and they have a lot of overlap, like Justin Smoke and Rowdy Tellez both having first base eligibility. They're a really difficult team to stack, in my opinion. I would just try to be one-offing McKinney, Drury, or Justin Smoke. Max Fried was the nuts on FanDuel last night. Max Fried was the nuts in general because Max Fried is my dude. Speaking of Max Fried, we're heading to Atlanta. The Atlanta Braves, 4.4 run implied total. Marlins 3.6. It's a 59% chance to win for the Braves. Kevin Gausman making his season debut today. Pablo Lopez going for Miami. This one's for me. I'm really excited to talk about it. If we hop back to my exposures and go to the players section, we have 52% Kevin Gausman. That makes me excited. I'm a big fan of his. I've thought that he had a little bit extra in his arm for a while now. I'm hoping that this debut against the Marlins team with a low implied total can really get me places. he is my number one pitcher of this entire slate. Just $35. If we look back at the summary table here, he is only the fifth most, well, tied for fourth most expensive pitcher, tied with Bieber. He's behind Thornton. He's behind Rick Porcello. He's behind Colin Mchugh. I like Kevin Gausman better than everybody on this Yahoo slate by a mile. That's where I want to be. 8 Ks per 9, 4 FIP. He's an above average pitcher, and he's got a date with the Marlins. And this projected Marlins lineup has no real hitters. Granderson, Anderson, and Walker are at either 106 weighted runs created plus or less. Everybody else below average. We've got a ton of swing and miss in guys like Peter O'Brien and Jorge Alfaro. Even Granderson leading off. I can't imagine not wanting to have a ton of Kevin here as my, I guess what I would say is my SP1. He's my dude. That 3.6 run implied total for the Marlins looks really appealing. So I really like Kevin Gausman. Trying not to let my Braves homerism shine through. That's where I want to be. As for Braves stacks, I mean, Atlanta and Miami are 13th and 14th, and are 14th and 15th in my entire ranking. D. Malone Jr. Yeah, he should be making his debut today. I understand that's the third time you're saying it now in this chat. I didn't miss them at the same timestamp either. Yes, he is making his debut today. I can click on it just so we can all see it. Gausman will rejoin the Braves rotation on Friday in a start against the Marlins after coming off of the 10-day injured list. So, thanks for the tip, but he is active. Cool, man. Can't really recommend Braves bats. Josh Donaldson for $17, hitting second, third base option. I think that's the best value here, but I don't really like the Braves. Pablo Lopez is good, or at least a functionally good pitcher. Has the ability to get blown up, but not a huge K rate. He's just got a slightly above average. Seriously, though, make sure Flowers is catching before jumping in at that high of a percentage. Oh, yeah, I see what you're saying. I mean, I'm in for Gausman one way or the other, though. I don't mind either way, but if Flowers is in, that just cements it for me. This slate, I can't make a full-on decision based on having a catcher like that, just because I don't really see pitching as terribly strong. So I don't mind going to Gausman if Flowers isn't in there. But if he is in there, I mean, that changes the game even more for him. Just a fantastic pitch framer. Yeah, it just makes it hard to go to the Braves because Pablo Lopez is an above-average starter. On the Marlins side, again, there's not that much to like. Neil Walker looks like a good one-off. He's a first baseman projected to hit third, and he is only $8. I think that you can get value there. I think that you can talk yourself into a little bit of value of Curtis Granderson at the top, but this is just not a game for bats. Josh, what is your max exposure? Is your max exposure twice what the public ownership is? No, I don't have a max exposure. I mean, baseball hashes itself out a little bit, but if someone's projected for 2%, I don't mind having 15 or 20 in baseball. That's fine. I would love to go to more Braves bats. Saying, come on, Josh, let's do some Freeman and Albies. I'd like to. I don't see this as a particularly appealing spot based on their salary structure right now. Yeah, Albie's not great against righties. He's got the worst splits on the entire team that's in this projected lineup right now. So if I were looking to anybody from the Braves, it really is just Josh Donaldson. And even that's not that appealing to me. All right, hit that like button, everybody. Once again, I do want to put the plug out. We'll put the link in the chat. If you go to sports, let me grab it here. Instead of me just reading it off to you. But you can sign up for Yahoo. Go to sports.yahoo.com/dailyfantasy. Use the promo code AWESEMO and get $30 in free plays. Can't beat it. Can't beat it. Let's move on and talk about the Astros here. Houston Astros taking on the Oakland A's. 4.5 run implied total for Oakland, or for the Astros rather. 3.5 for the A's. It's a 61% chance to win for Houston. Colin Mchugh on the bump for the Astros. Frankie Montas going for Oakland. You probably saw the exposures on here for me before, but just to hop back to him from a pitching perspective. Colin Mchugh coming in at 12%. No Frankie Montas whatsoever. It's really hard for me to pay all the way up for Mchugh with some other guys on this slate. He is just not that good of a pitcher. 8 Ks per 9, a league average FIP. He should not be this owned. It is a great team to face, in my opinion, but I will barely be going to Colin Mchugh. He's just overpriced. I wanted to hit a question that just got asked in YouTube chat. Is it okay to have one batter against one of your pitchers in a GPP? On a smaller slate, I don't have an issue with it. On a bigger slate, like on an 8-game slate, it's not something that I would really advocate for. So for Frankie Montas, doesn't miss enough bats, below average FIP, taking on the Astros, loaded lineup, just can't do it. It's a bad spot. But if we talk about the Astros and A's stacks coming in. Number 1 with a bullet for Houston, just tied with Texas. Oakland coming in the middle of the pack. The 4.5 run implied total for Houston and a matchup against Frankie Montas should be the cure for what ails you. George Springer looks good. Alex Bregman looks good. A lot of these guys are just like comparably solid. Springer, Bregman, Brantley, Correa, probably my favorite 4-man. I'd like Josh Reddick in a lefty-righty spot. If he could somehow slide up the order, it'd be fantastic. But there's really no limit to the guys that I would use here. Robinson Chirinos is a $14 catcher option. I like using him as part of a 5-man stack. Springer and Altuve both at $22, but you can get Brantley in a lefty-righty matchup at only $15. I think that's really appealing. I am not a huge fan of Tony Kemp from a DFS perspective. He has very, very little pop. He's projected to hit 9th, but you get lefty-righty. He's an outfielder at only $9. If he's the 5th man into your Astros stack, I have no issue with it. But if you're really looking to focus on the Astros, you guys know who to focus on. It's Springer, it's Bregman, it's Altuve, it's Correa. It's these guys that can battle for, potentially MVPs in a given year. On the Oakland side, one bat stands out significantly, and that's Kendry Morales. Generally better against lefties, but he is a first baseman slotted into the 5-hole with only a $7 salary. Love the idea of using him as a one-off here, specifically if Colin Mchugh garners any sort of ownership. I would have no problem whatsoever being there. After that, Robbie Grossman in the leadoff spot, not a ton of pop, but the extra plate appearances are pretty important here. He is an $8 outfielder. No problem whatsoever going to him as well as a one-off. It's really hard for me to truly recommend an Oakland 5-man stack unless you know that Colin Mchugh is going to be getting quite a bit of ownership. I wouldn't mind it as a hedge, but I think it's way easier to get to little combos, like to use, Chris Davis, Robbie Grossman, and Matt Chapman in a 3-man stack. That would be my most likely scenario for the A's. But you have the ability to just stack up so differently. I mean, you can have up to 6 batters from one team in a stack if you'd like. Yahoo just really changing up the stack game. I think my most likely scenario would be either 5-3s or 5-2-1s. But I will spend quite an amount of time doing some FC Rewind research, trying to get my finger on the pulse here. Tall to God, what does Josh mean by one-off? So stacking rules the roost in baseball. Let's just say that I want to get 5 guys from the A's. Let's say that I have Springer and Altuve as well in my lineup. A one-off would just be a single player from a team, not and without anybody else from that team in the lineup. All right, we've got 2 more games to touch on. I really appreciate you guys joining me. Moving forward, we're going to be doing, like I said, we'll be doing the column every single Friday, Yahoo specific. And this show will definitely have a co-host with me. I wanted to make sure that we talked a little bit about the generalities and how to play on Yahoo first before we get into breaking it down. So you will see a rotating cast of characters, whether it's Emac or Jake, Adam, Laffy. We'll have a ton of people in here for Yahoo Fridays. I appreciate the dap on the Rangers call. They were my highest exposed stack last night. Will we get rankings and grades for Yahoo MLB? Yes, we are working on them as we speak. I do not believe they are officially out yet. Let me just double check. But everything that we have for every other site, we will have for Yahoo. I'm still working on getting that implemented. Should be up soon enough. Chris Austin, why just Yahoo? Because Yahoo is our presenting sponsor today, and we need to show them some love for wanting to be a part of us. We want to be a part of Yahoo. Yahoo wants to be a part of us. It's perfect. You can't beat it. And really, it's a fantastic site to test your mettle. I probably see it on a daily basis, people saying that these guys are only good because they max enter, whatever you want to use for those excuses. Yahoo's the site where you can put your money where your mouth is. It's a 10 max site. They have a fantastic payout structure on all of their contests. It's perfect. I really enjoyed playing there throughout the NFL season. I really enjoyed playing their no management fee NBA contests. And now I'm going to have, it's going to be a primary spot for me on an MLB basis on a day-to-day level. As soon as the NBA season is finished, I will be on Yahoo every single day. So final 2 games to touch on. We have the Brewers hosting the Cubs. 4.4 run implied total for the Brewers. 4.1 for the Cubs. The 54% chance to win for the Brew Crew. Brandon Woodruff on the hill for Milwaukee. Jose Quintana on the hill for the Cubbies. Woodruff $27, Jose Quintana $34. We take a look back at my exposures. I am getting quite a bit of Woodruff. I didn't expect to see that when I started. Very little of Jose Quintana. Quintana feeling like a difficult spot to pay up for. Woodruff working as a pay down SP2 option against the Cubs team that has a relatively pedestrian run total. It's a scary-ish lineup, but it's not being bored out by Vegas. So I will get to a little bit of Woodruff. He's got an 8.3 Ks per 9 from Steamer, slightly above average FIP. Like Jose Quintana is a better pitcher. I'm comfortable saying that, but the $7 price tag difference and the fact that the Brewers have a slightly higher chance of picking up a win means that I actually think that Woodruff is able to produce more fantasy points. If we're talking about how I want to stack this game, however, Milwaukee is in the middle of the pack, and I have just as much Cubs bats, so I'm all over this. I don't mind having a lot of Cubs bats, even if I'm playing quite a bit of Woodruff. They're not going to be in the same lineup, so I do like being in this game from a bat perspective. For the Brewers on Yahoo, they are starting their lineup outfield, which makes it a little tough. If I need to rank them, I honestly would probably go Braun, then Kane, then Yelich. Yelich obviously a much higher ceiling than Kane, but Yelich really struggles lefty-lefty, so he's a little bit muted compared to where he'd normally be. Similar ceiling to Ryan Braun in this spot, but not as cost efficient at the $27 price tag. No issue going to any of those guys. No issue going to Jesus Aguilar, monster power there, $15 first baseman. And then Hernan Perez, not a lot of pop, not a lot of talent from a hitting perspective, but $7 second baseman can help you make stacks work a little bit better. You can't pay all the way up to someone like Moose Tacos in a lefty-lefty matchup for $18. Cantor 33, not true, Josh. What's not true? I have no idea what could possibly be not true in this. .165 weighted runs created plus versus lefties in 2018 for Yelich. Okay. What does that mean? Yeah, nobody's split proof. Splits are real, no matter what. Well, let's take a look at it. Just because you aren't bad, I'm not trying to say that he is bad against lefties. He's bad against lefties relative to righties. The lefty-lefty split is the easiest one to predict. It is the one that needs the least amount of information. Check out Tango Tiger's book on baseball for this one. I've been plugging it constantly since it's a new season. Take a look back at 2018. And I can show you guys how I'm calculating this stuff as well. He does struggle against lefties in relationship to his skill level against righties. Should have been more specific there. My apologies. Yeah, so he had a relatively balanced weighted runs created plus actually last year. The 370 and change BABIP is kind of interesting. I wouldn't have expected that, but if I hop back into my sheet, I can show you guys what I'm doing. In the book on baseball, they lay out a regression formula for how to determine a player's true splits. So what I have in this workbook, and it all lives here, over the past 3 years, I have a file of everybody's WOBA and their plate appearances for both lefties and righties. And using their performances against lefties and righties from a plate appearance standpoint, there's a certain amount of regression that you want to put into to determine a hitter's true splits. So you can see the formulas in here, and you can get this stuff from the book on baseball. So I calculate individual player splits regressed based on their plate appearances for every single player that is on the slate, and then apply that to a formula to either knock down or boost up a player's projection based on the amount of plate appearances I expect them to face righty or lefty guys. So I have all of this here. In general, it's a 7% reduction for Christian Yelich to his performance if he is facing a lefty. Now, he won't see the full 7% split in this game. I only factor in a certain amount of plate appearances. Basically, what I do, and it's a little wrong for high-end bats like Yelich, who's most likely to face a lefty later on in a game, but I give that 7% reduction portion to just the portion that Jose Quintana will play. And then for whatever amount of playing time is left after that, I will split it down the middle between righties and lefties. So I really I do like to factor that stuff in. You can see Moustakas has a relatively similar split as well, both around 7%. It doesn't mean you can't play guys like this, but it is lessening the impact for me today at his particular salary tier. Now on the Cubs side, as I mentioned, I am getting a bit of the Cubs. I think Anthony Rizzo grades out really nicely, $20 first baseman. He is my second favorite play on the Cubs behind the man Kyle Schwarber. $17 on Yahoo for an outfielder, monster power. I'm still a little sad about Schwarber. He K'd with the bases loaded twice last year when I had quite a bit of him. It cost me a tournament. So I'm willing to go back to it, but Schwarber, get your stuff together. No problem going to Zobrist, Chris Bryant. I think Almora in the 8 hole is reasonable at just a $7 outfield tag, so he makes it a little bit easier to stack. But Zobrist, Rizzo, Bryant, and Baez all at first, second, third, short. They're a really, really easy team to stack, and that's why I'm seeing them so high. Bryant, Rizzo, Baez, and Schwarber in particular all have monster ceilings. I really do like getting to some of the Cubs, even if I am going to be using Brandon Woodruff as an SP2. Yeah, appreciate that, Cantor. I didn't mean to. I didn't want it to sound like I was like trying to argue with you or anything. I probably misspoke to start, but yeah, the splits are playing a really big role in the way that I do my my projections. Final game here for Yahoo's 8-game main slate. I hope to see you guys in the tournaments tonight. The Angels taking on the Rangers. 4.4 run implied total for the Angels. 4.1 for the Rangers. It's a 53% chance to win for the Angels. Felix Pena on the bump for the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. Lance Lynn going for Texas. If we hop back over to take a look at my exposures, we have something nice at the top. Texas Rangers coming out, numero uno. Angels as well, right behind it. This is a bats game if I ever saw one. I can get to a little bit of Pena. I don't have much of an issue with that. I'd rather never have Lance Lynn. Pena's just got a monster slider. It's a fun pitch to watch. If it's cooking, he could rack up the Ks, but he is a below average pitcher otherwise. There's a lot of strikeouts in Texas here, so this could be. It has the potential to be a good game for Pena at least. Could also just as easily get blown up. Perfect GPP play. Angels bats. Justin Bour, $8 first baseman on Yahoo, lefty righty against Lance Lynn. If you're looking for the best bat on the slate, you have found it. If you're not using Justin Bour on Yahoo, you are making a mistake. Looks fantastic. I also don't have any problem if you want to pivot and go to Albert Pujols, $7 first baseman. Mike Trout, $26. Don't have to tell you anything there. Trout is a fantastic baseball player. Mike Trout is, let's see, 6th in my home run model for today. I love stacking up the Angels. There's not a guy that I wouldn't want to use. Jonathan LaCroix, not good, but an $11 catcher works as part of the stack. La Stella is cheap. No pop whatsoever, but a $7 second baseman. Whatever you can do to save some money and more easily get to Mike Trout is a really easy decision, in my opinion. I will very rarely ever think to myself, I don't think I want to go to those guys. On the Ranger side, let me just circle back to this. Sir Dave, so are you only going to go over slates on Friday for Yahoo? Sort of. We will have regular baseball coverage on Fridays moving forward. There won't be any more regular season NBA slates after this week. So we had to cover the NBA this morning and just simply don't have enough time to do everything else. So the deeper dive and live before lock, we'll be able to cover all of these 8 games, and we'll have plenty of coverage for the main slate for what you're looking for throughout the rest of the day. Today is just sort of unique in that we needed to get the basketball show in the morning, and then we had Awesemo odds as well for today. On a normal week, we'll be covering everything for baseball every single day, so don't worry about that. Now on the Rangers side, I obviously like them quite a bit. I loved them last night. If things go bad for Pena here, they can go really bad. Ronald Guzman, $7 first baseman. Get him in your stacks for sure. Grades out really well. Had a monster day last night. Get yourself some Odor. Try to shake off the stink of last night's 0 for 5. Not good. Joey Gallo grading out as an incredible play. $19 outfielder. It's really, really, really nice. Gallo in my model coming in as the 3rd most likely guy to have a home run today. I like this entire team. The only guy that really gives me some pause would be Elvis Andrus. Hitting 3rd, which is helpful. Just really not a good spot for him. $15 shortstop. I don't love getting there. I'd be more likely to use a shortstop from another game, but I'll still have some Elvis Andrus. I just can't get enough of the bats in this game. I really, really like the idea of having a lot of the Angels Rangers late night hammer. So if we're looking just at bats overall, if anybody has any curiosities on what I like the most, my top bats, Justin Bour, $8. He's just simply too cheap. He would be my favorite bat of all of the sub $10 guys. Bour and McKinney would be 1 and 2 for me. If we're talking about true major ceilings, Bryce Harper is my number 1 overall bat, $27 outfielder, just grading out really well. Rhys Hoskins coming in second, just behind him. I think he looks fantastic as well. And then Joey Gallo actually would be third. Just so much power. The idea of getting a home run here would be massive for me. So I would really like to get to some Joey Gallo. Those would be my top plays. If we're talking about from a pitching perspective, favorite plays of the day, Kevin Gausman for sure. As they've mentioned previously, if Tyler Flowers is in, it gets even better. I think Shane Bieber is solid. He'll probably end up being a little overowned, but there's really not a ton of pitching talent out there, so Shane Bieber would be my number 2. And then Nick Pivetta, I think, is probably my number 3, $31. Pretty easy to get to all 3 guys. That's it, guys. That's where we're at. We have an excellent crop of contests out there on Yahoo today, so please check it out. Once again, they are running some excellent Masters tournaments. I really think that if you're playing any PGA contests next week, this should be the place that you're doing it. They are running a $20 100K guaranteed, 20K to first, 10 max. You won't find a better tournament out there unless you only want to spend $5 on each entry. A 10K guaranteed, 10 max tournament, 2K to first, no management fee whatsoever. Zilch, nada, nothing. The whole prize pool comes right back out to the players. You cannot find a better tournament. That should be the first. If you're playing any money next week in golf, if you have $50 to play, this is the spot. Right here, it's on the screen right now. PGA 10K guaranteed, no management fee. That should be the first spot you put your $50. Don't even think twice. You will not find a better tournament anywhere at all. Doesn't exist. Like I mentioned, we will be doing regular Yahoo MLB shows every Friday. They are now our presenting sponsor. We are very happy to have them and have this relationship with them. We have a lot of interesting content coming up for Yahoo in the future, so please stick around for that. I've pasted the link in previously, but if you go to sports.yahoo.com/dailyfantasy and enter the promo code AWESOMO, you can get $30 in free play bucks from Yahoo themselves. And also hop over to awesomeo.com. If you do that, you will see on the homepage, the link is in the chat. Our old pal Emac dropped an article this morning talking Yahoo strategy. Got a couple picks in here and everything. If you go check it out, the article is free. You can see it on the website, awesomeo.com. If you guys have any Yahoo specific questions, feel free to tweet at me. If you are a premium sub, feel free to hit us up in our premium Slack. We would love for you guys to join us and go on this journey with us. Special thanks to Yahoo for allowing us to do this. Coming up for the rest of the day, you will have the deep dive from Laffy and Adam coming up at 4:45. Jake and Chris reunited once again for the first time since last baseball season. They will be on live before lock from 6 to 7. Plus, you will get Fast Eddie Fear breaking down the 13-game NBA slate. It's going to be a chore for him, but there's nobody better in the industry to do it. So go ahead and watch Fast Eddie Fear if you're playing NBA. Thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate it. Apparently, we're almost at 100 likes, so hit that thumbs up on your way out the door. It's very, very helpful to us. It allows us to grow, allows us to continue to offer these videos as much as we do. So thank you very much for everybody to join us. I bid you adieu. Enjoy your weekend, everybody.